Hi everybody, it's Annette from The Art of Intuition, and today we are going to talk about unraveling realities. And my voice is still in the process of upgrading, so I still have a raspy to it, but luckily I still have one, so we're going to push through. Okay, unraveling realities. We talk about how we build realities. You're going to find when you start getting to a certain part of your ascension process that we have to start aligning realities we have. And one of the things that kind of happens with that is we really have to look at realities we have created and decide if we can realign them, if we are just going to close them out, if we don't even have the energy to do either, we're just going to walk away. Now, there is a time when we will do that, just walk away. We're not going to get too much into that in this video, but there is a time when you're in the beginning of your ascension process where you don't have the energy to align it. You don't know how yet. You don't remember how yet. You don't understand yet. So you really can't do much with it. So walking away is something that will happen quite a bit. In the beginning, there comes a time when you can't do that anymore. And you'll know when that time is because it'll resurface again for you to actually deal with it. But you kind of put a pin in it, in a sense, put a pin in it, and you kind of move forward. So those are kind of our options, right? And what you're going to see is that when you have to start aligning your life, and it doesn't matter if it's business or personal, those aren't separate anymore. In our human existence, they're separate. You're one way at work, you're one way at home. You're all the same. You're a higher aspect everywhere. You don't get to play one way and play one other way, in another place, right? You're always going to be your highest aspect. You might have a different higher aspect that comes out depending on the situation, but it's not dependent on where you are. It's dependent on who you're speaking to. It's dependent on what they require. It's dependent on what has to be aligned, what they're going to respond to. Some people will respond to a softer aspect because that's what that situation will call for. Some people are going to respond to maybe a harder aspect because you have to kind of bring the power through to get this aligned. That's going to be what you depended on. It doesn't matter where you are. It matters who is in the reality with you. It's always about the people. It's already about the partnerships, the relationships with the people. That's what you want to work with. That's what you want to look at. So when we start having to unravel something, we have to start kind of pulling it apart. And in the beginning, everything we've created as humans, I'll save you the big reveal at the end. Everything you created as a human, it's all karmic. There's nothing you created that was pure. None of it. It's all karmic. It all has strings to it. It all has things you have to unravel and pull apart. Okay, it's like a big ball of yarn, and you got to unravel it and pull it apart and see. You got to look at every part of it. And in the beginning, that's very daunting. And that's why we won't create things for a while with people, because we don't want to create another mess. Because we've been spending all this time unraveling all the messes we've had over, how many human years have we had? And not just this existence, every existence that's going on concurrently to this one. So we have a lot to unpack. There's a lot to unpack here, and we have a lot to do. That's why we really can't get into what anybody else is doing. We're not really interested in what other people are doing because we have ourself for a long time is a very full-time job for us to kind of, look at and try to figure it out. So, okay, we're going to take a couple of different realities. I want to do small ones just to show that don't worry about the big ones yet. You might have big ones that are a mess, okay? But you don't need to worry about those if you can't do the small ones. You want to be able to look at the small ones first, the ones you don't have a lot of emotional attachment to, and look at those and start pulling those apart first. Like a little thing of dental floss, little like balled up dental floss. Let's pull that one apart. Don't worry about the big pile of yarn over there yet. That's for another moment. That might not be where you're at yet. It might not be your time yet for that. Let's look at this little teeny piece of yarn or piece of string, piece of dental floss, I think that's what I said. That's what we're going to look at. That's what we're going to try to unravel. We're not going to worry about the rest of it yet. Don't worry about that. So I know I've had a couple different timelines that have come up. And one is I have to have a sofa moved. Like I said, these are going to feel like a very simplistic one, but I want to show you the level we have to go to when we look at creating a reality, even one that simple as getting someone to move a sofa. That's why higher consciousness, sometimes it feels like it can take us a long time to do certain things because we really take great care in what we do. Now, there's a couple different options I have about moving the sofa. I can hire someone to move the sofa. If the money's available to do that, I can ask someone to help me move a sofa. Now, that's a trickier part, to asking someone to do it. That might be the highest aligned thing, not the asking part, but having someone come in to do it for different reasons in the reality that I might not be able to see those yet, depending on who's going to come in and do it. So normally I'll just put out there, I'm like, okay, bring me the people who are going to help me move this couch, right? Bring me those people. And then I'll kind of see who starts showing up. Now, a human way to do it would be to go through my phone and just text people and say, hey, I need help with something, right? Now, if I was in my human consciousness, that's what I would have done. Now, I can look at all those people I would text and ask them for assistance on this. None of them are in my reality currently, which means they're not aligned to be here, which means I can't reach out to them and ask them for assistance. I'm not allowed to do that anymore, because now I'm trying to drag someone into my reality because I need something. They're not here for a reason. They're off doing what they need to do. They're off doing their realities. They're not in mine. They're not aligned to be here. Now I'm going to try to drag them in because I need something. Do we feel the distortion in that right away? Like right away, that shit doesn't feel right because I want something. I'm not coming from my purest place. I want something here. Even if I have someone contact me who I haven't heard from in a while, and I can look at that and say, okay, well, this is a candidate for my sofa removal reality, right? It's a candidate for that. And then I got to look at the whole thing. I got to remember there's a reason why a lot of these people aren't in my reality, because there was a lot of agenda attached. There was a lot of things people wanted, and that they were not realities I wanted to get into, or didn't want to play in those realities. Because anyone coming into a reality, even if we're coming from our purest place, it takes a long time for us to be able to tell that. Other people might not be, which means it's still karmic. It's still karmic. Anyone who comes in with any lack at all, and that's basically what lack is, it's just you have an agenda, you want something. If anyone comes in with that, the whole thing's karmic. The whole thing's going to fall apart anyway. Doesn't matter, right? So you got to kind of look at, okay, who's in the reality? Who just came back in? How is this aligned? And I want to look at where the person is. I want to look and say, okay, could this work? And if I see the person is still kind of playing in old stuff, in the sense of kind of the same kind of thing I got before when the realities were closed out, there's no point to pursue that. Now, sometimes our universe will kind of send us an option, and we have to look at that. We have to pull it apart. We have to look at it and see, could this reality work with this person? And if we feel like it won't, then, okay, we're just going to say never mind to that, and we're going to move forward and wait for the next one. Sometimes our universe will send us a new one. It will send us another one. We can look at that one and say, okay, how do I feel about this one? Is this one more aligned than that? Does this one make more sense? Is this in a different place? There's a part of all these realities where we kind of want certain people to be there. We want certain people to come into these realities with us. And it goes back to a trope in pretty much every movie. When someone dies and then maybe someone else has a near death, or you think they're going to die, and they'll meet the person that's died, and the person will say, no, go back. It's not your time yet. Go back. You're not supposed to be here yet. And that's kind of how consciousness can be, in a sense. Everyone has a human existence to finish. And those people might not be here because it's not their time, or they're in a different part of their ascension process, or they're just still in their human experience and it's not their time yet. So they technically can't be here. It's not their time yet. There's nothing wrong with where they are. It's just not their time yet. So they can't be with you. Trying to drag a lot of people in a sense, it's karmic. It's going to fall apart. It's not going to work. It's going to be a disaster because they're not technically supposed to be here. So just kind of keep that in your consciousness, in the sense when you kind of come across these mundane little things. Our human used to go just do all these things right away, and now you kind of say, okay, let me look at it. There's 100 different reasons for this reality. Who is this going to assist? How can I do this? What's the best way to do this? Still being respectful to everybody in it. We have to kind of pull all of them apart. And even the ones that feel this is one I just got today, and it's going to feel outlandish, but I'm going to give it as an example as how things can come in. And even if it right away you're like, okay, that's a total no, you still want to look at it for a second, pull it apart a little bit just to make sure. Because like I said, sometimes there's a zillion reasons we do realities. There's a zillion reasons, and if anyone is squeamish, I'm gonna talk about nudity, so you might wanna click off now if you're squeamish, but I'm gonna do it from the most respectful place I can. There's a lot of this process where, well, I don't know if that's a lot of it, but there is different parts of the process where we work through our sexual stuff, we work through body stuff, we work through body image. I know a lot of people that will do a lot of nude stuff as far as laying outside nude or being comfortable walking around nude. It's something I've heard quite a bit when people are in different phases of their process to really love their body again. Because so much of us have that stuff going on with the body. We don't love our body. So you see that a lot, and it's not from the same human place. It's from there's a higher purpose to what they're doing. They're doing it to kind of love their body, not have shame on the body, and not feel shameful of your body. So you're clearing a lot of shame when you're doing a lot of that stuff. So there's a reason why people do anything. But I had something come across today where I got a message about posing for a nude photo, which is just kind of funny, and a money amount and then a nude photo opportunity, right? And it just was funny because my human wants to immediately say no, and some people in their human consciousness would have immediately said yes. It doesn't really matter what side of the fence you fall on. But in this sense, it's still a reality, even though my first thing was, no, that's not aligned, but I'm still going to pull it apart and look at it. Even if I take 2 minutes to do that or a minute to do that, you're still going to look at it and go, okay, is there a purpose to this? Would there be a reason for this? Is there a purpose to doing any of this right now? And you can kind of pull it apart. Now that seems like a kind of an outrageous example, but you just want to take care of everything that comes in and don't immediately say no because it doesn't come in maybe the way you want it to come in. And that can sometimes be opportunities. It can sometimes be money. It can be whatever. Just be mindful of if you shut something down right away. Now you might still look at it, and I could still look at that timeline and see, okay, no, that's not aligned, but I'm still going to pull it apart and look at it. I'm still going to unravel it. I'm going to look at it and see, okay, is this my universe sending me a test? Possibly, to see, am I going to do this because the money amount was pretty high, or am I not? So it's just kind of a thing you want to unravel, and do that to every piece of everything that comes in, because that's how we learn. That's how we start to learn about what happened in even a reality that's collapsed. Let me go back and do a post-mortem on that. Let me unravel that and look at it and see, okay, what happened here? How did it start? Let me pull it apart. Let me examine it. You can do it to somebody else's. Sometimes it's easier to do it to either a really small thing of yours that really doesn't matter, like the kind of 2 examples I gave. Well, they seem mundane, and look at someone else is kind of like doing the same thing because you don't have the emotional stuff going on with that. You don't have the cords of attachment in it. That's what makes that belly yarn so big. It's got a lot of cords to it. So you can kind of look at someone else's and just pull it apart in your mind and look at how it started, and just kind of even do this. Start kind of making hand gestures and kind of moving it around and going, let me look at this reality. They're pliable, they're movable, they're breathable. Let me look at what's here. Let me look at who's in it. Let me look at where it kind of went awry. Where could we have aligned it? Where could it not be aligned? Where could have been closed out a lot with less effort? Where, if I was in that place of just walking away, where would it have been a good place to do that instead of sticking in and trying to do an alignment I wasn't in an energetic place to do yet? So don't be afraid to pull it apart, and don't be afraid to look at everything, no matter how outlandish it might seem, which is the example I just gave. Just do it. It might seem kind of weird, I'm going to pull apart these, but you never know. Just pull them apart, look at them, and kind of see, is there a reason for this? I mentioned that I know a lot of people that will just like to, if you are still into some of you want to work through, and you feel like you're supposed to do like topless bathing or something, whatever it is for you, to work through the body shame stuff. I know a ton of people who will do that and work through those realities that way. So there's always going to be a reason realities come up, and you have to kind of look at, what is it triggering me? Does it trigger an emotion I have to look at? Is there something I have to look at here? What's going on with me when I see that? Do I think it's funny? Is it something that, oh, that might be fun to do, and it doesn't matter what it is. What matters is the consciousness you examine it in. That's what's important. So, okay, keep practicing the art of intuition.